Okay, hello and welcome. My name is 3D Immortal and I'm from Web Institute, web-institute.blogspot.com. My plan is to create several video tutorials for you about many applications, computer applications, and maybe several programming languages if it's possible. For a start, I'm going to create a series of tutorials about Blender 2.5, starting from the very basics, growing up to the more advanced topics. My plan is to help those 3D artists coming from different backgrounds, such as 3D Studio Max and Cinema 4D. I'm going to help them to convert easily and smoothly to Blender, because Blender, as we all know, has that great advantage of being free, and it's open source and very powerful. Um the thing that I want to mention before we start our tutorial, which is going to be about how to model a spoon, such as this one. I just modeled this one using Blender, and I'm going to teach you how to model it right now. Um, we need to mention something here, that is Blender 2.5 currently in the beta stage. It's in the beta stage, and we have to expect that there are many problems. It might crash sometimes. It's not that stable, so anything is expected. Yeah, so we'll try to deal with these things when we find them, but hopefully we won't face any. When I modeled this spoon, I didn't face any problem. Hopefully I won't have to face any problem while recording this tutorial. Now let's get started. This is the UV image editor here. This window, you can control what to display in this window through this button. Yeah, it's view a list, lots of modes you can go through, and I will choose the 3D view. Now this is our viewport, the user viewport in the perspective mode. Yeah. I have to mention something here, that I edited some preferences for me in order to work with, because these are just user preferences, my preferences. You don't have to do this, but if you want to be exactly the same, to work exactly as me, then here are my preferences. Any new render will be rendered to a new window. So if I hit F12 or click this image button, yeah, a new window will pop up, and the rendered image will be displayed in that new window. Yeah, the resolution, I adjusted it to 800 by 600. Yeah. And for the user preferences also, if you go to File, User Preferences, and you go to the editing here, I adjusted the steps of the undo to be 64. I want to have as many undos as I want. Of course, this will be reflected to your RAM size, and well, I've got 8 gigs of RAM, so it's not a problem. Yeah. And a transform release confirm. Yes, I want to confirm the transform movement, scale, rotation. I want to confirm these transform operations by once releasing the mouse button. If you want to move, so I'm holding the mouse button now. When I release, the movement confirms. That's what I want. That's how I'm used to. Control Z to undo. And also, if for the input here, you can adjust which button selects the object, left mouse button or right mouse button. Well, people coming from Cinema 4D and 3D Studio Max will really want um, to have that left mouse button selects objects, but people who got used to it, right click, selects the object. No problem. Yeah, you right click an object, you select it. I'm just used to that. Although I'm coming from a different background. I worked with 3D Studio Max for several years and then converted to Cinema 4D and then recently to Blender. Anyway, for the 3D view global here, okay, I want to pan the view using my middle mouse button only, without the shift. By default it's going to be the shift. And the rotate view, I want to rotate the view using the shift middle mouse button. That's how I'm used to. Yeah, so this is pan, and shift middle mouse button rotates the view. Okay, now something to mention here. Blender is really dependent on shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts. It's very important because lots of the options you can't reach through menus and all sorts of things. Yeah, so shortcuts are very important. And I'm going to mention all the shortcuts I'm working with for you to write down and try to remember. Now I will select my cube. That's the default cube. Whenever you open Blender, you're gonna find that default cube. You can delete it if you want, but I will choose to start from it, to use it as a base for my spoon. As a good practice, I like to name my objects. Yeah, because if you're going to work with a file that will be shared and other artists will use and sorts of things, you have to name your objects. Yeah, so I'm gonna name it. Yeah, go to the object tab here and name it spoon. You can also name it from somewhere else. Hitting the N button on your keyboard will bring this transform toolbar, and from here you can name your object spoon. So it's spoon because we renamed it. And again to remove that toolbar. Also, this toolbar is actually the operations toolbars, functions toolbars. I don't know what it's called, but anyway, so this tool shelf, some people call it this way. If you want to hide it, you press the T button on your keyboard. Yeah, this hides it. If you want to display it, press T again and it's displayed. Okay, good. Now with this object selected, I want to scale it down. Okay, I want it to be a little bit flat. So how to do that in Blender? You press the S button to scale. This scales things proportionally, uniformly. I don't want that. Yeah, I don't want that. So S again, and I want to scale it across the Z axis. So S, Z, and scale it down. That's quite good. That's what we want. Okay, now what? I want to go to the edit mode. I want to be able to work with the sub-object levels, such as the vertices and the edges and the faces. To do this in Cinema 4D, you have to convert, to editable in in 3D Studio Max, editable poly or editable mesh. Here you just press the tab key and you're in the edit mode. Tab key again to go out of the tab mode. Now tab to go into the edit mode. By default, everything is selected, all the vertices in the select, and you're in the vertex edit mode or vertex select mode. Yeah. To deselect all, you hit the A button on your keyboard. So if something is selected, it deselects all. If something is selected, it deselects all, pressing A on your keyboard. If nothing is selected, on the other hand, selects all. That's quite handy, right? So I want to deselect all, so press A again and everything is deselected. What I want to do is to select the top face and the bottom face. Very easy. So how to select faces here? You can choose face select mode from here, okay, or the other way or other method is by pressing Control Tab on your keyboard, and this will bring this menu, mesh select mode, and you can choose face. So right click or left click, whatever you want. Yeah, you can edit that from the user preferences as we mentioned earlier. Okay, so right click here to select this top face, right click again and select the bottom face. I want to subdivide them. In order to introduce some more details so that I can play with. How to subdivide this? You can bring the menu, the W menu, by pressing the W key. It's called the specials. You can then press subdivide. Or from here, from the tool shelf, you can press subdivide. Now it was subdivided. But that's not enough. I mean, I want more cuts to work with, so I will increase the number of cuts here. So 2. Yeah, I guess that's quite fine. That's good. Okay, now what? Deselect all. What I'm gonna do is well, I will select those faces here, the one here and the other one here on the opposite direction, and I will press S and I will scale this time across the Y direction. You can do this through here if you want. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. So, or the easier way, if you want, the easier way is let me undo that. S, Y, and scale. Very easy, huh? Good. Now what? I will select these 4 edges. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I want. Good. Now we'll scale them. But across which axis this time? That's very simple. Anything other than Z. So how to do that? S, Shift Z, and that's exactly what I want. Okay. Now what? I need to select those faces. Okay. S, Z. I want to make them just a little bit sharper. I'll move them up just a little bit like that. Okay, and this one as well, and S, Z, and I will move it upwards just a little bit. Okay, very good, and I will select this face and the bottom one here and move them down just like that. Probably it's a good time now to add the modifiers, some modifiers. Actually, it's one single modifier that we will add in this tutorial, which is the subsurface modifier. Modifiers here from the modifiers tab, add modifier, subdivision surface. Good. And I will increase the subdivisions in order to have more smoothness. This is equivalent in the mesh smooth in the 3ds Max or HyperNurbs in Cinema 4D. Very good. But take a look at that. The shading is not smooth. Remember in Cinema 4D that you have to add the font tag in order to smooth the shading? It's the same thing here, but no font tag. You just have to smooth the shading. So you have to select all first. Okay, so A to select all, and then choose shading smooth. Yeah, that's it. Or there is another way. W, shade smooth. Now it's smooth right now. If you try to render, not bad, good. We're still gonna work, I mean tweak the shape a little bit. I want something that looks a little bit realistic, although I'm not gonna focus on that now because it's just a tutorial here. I'm just trying to teach you the concept. Anyway, so I'm going to select that face again and hit extrude. Okay, how to do these? Oh, I forgot to teach you. To extrude something in Blender, you just hit the E key on your keyboard. E to extrude. Yeah, so I will extrude that like that, and S to scale it proportionally. Scale it up just a little bit. And probably it's a good time now to go to different viewports. Yeah, so the numpad 1 moves you to the front, but currently it's in the perspective. What if you want it to be in the orthogonal direction or orthogonal view? Yeah, so hit numpad 5. Now that's an ortho view. Numpad 3 moves you to the right position. Numpad 7 moves you to the top viewport. Okay, I want to move to the right or side, whatever. Okay, and hit extrude again. Yeah, and another extrude, and move it down just a little bit. Okay, now maybe I want to scale it just a little bit, and I will move to the edge select mode. Alt select selects a loop. That's good. Or maybe you want to scale it down just a little bit like that. Here I don't think that an alt selection will select a loop. Well, actually it did. That's good. That's good. So S X. That's good. Doesn't look that good though, but it's fine. I'm just trying to teach you the concept here. Maybe we want to do this. So how to select all of these vertices all at once? I'll go to vertex select mode and hit B on your keyboard to bring the box selection tool that selects everything, but it adds to the previous selection, so you have to take care of that. You have to deselect all first. Okay, so again B. Okay, what do you want? You have to take care of something. This only selected the top vertices. What about the bottom ones? Because by default this option is enabled, which is limit selection to visible. You want to disable it first and then B, select, and go again. Oh yeah, bottom vertices are selected. What I want to do is to try to edit the shape just a little bit so that it looks a little more realistic. X. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Go to the side. Not bad. Not bad. Okay. And I will limit the selection to visible again. And if we hit render, yeah, that doesn't look bad at all. Okay. Now, I will go out of the edit mode. I will go out of the edit mode by pressing the tab key. I want to affect the pivot point. The pivot point. Listen to me, 3D Studio Max users. Pivot point of this object, of this geometry. I will go to the side view and make it perspective by hitting numpad 5. Okay, I will move the object up just a little bit like that. Okay, there is a shortcut called this is the 3D cursor. Left clicking, moves it. We have several um, um, uh, uses for this 3D cursor, and I will teach you one of them here. One of them is to try to affect the pivot point of the object, and I will place the cursor here. Actually, let me Shift C. Shift C actually moves the cursor to the origin. So Shift C moved the cursor, 3D cursor, to the origin. Now I will move my object to approximately, intersects the 3D cursor at the location where I want to move my pivot point to. I want to move my pivot point here. I want the spoon to be centered at this place, okay, because I want to rotate it around this pivot point. Now, how can I move this pivot point here? There's no mode called affect pivot point only in Blender, but in 3D Studio Max there is, and also in Cinema 4D. But here you can do this through the 3D cursor, object, transform, and then origin, which is the pivot point. Origin, you transform it what? To the center of the geometry? No, I don't want that. I want to transform it to the 3D cursor. And here it is. It was moved now to the place I want. Now if I try to rotate, pressing R on my keyboard will rotate. Yeah? And it rotates around the point that I really wanted. If you want small increments, look at that here. Look at the how can I show you that? Rotation value. If you take a look at the bottom left corner of the window, you'll find some numbers that changes here. Okay, these are the rotation angles or degrees. Okay, if you want small increments, you can press on and hold the shift key. See, smaller increments here, smaller and finer increments. If you want really increments, specified increments, like 5 degrees increments, you have to press and hold the control key. Actually, I will hit the shift. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so I will deselect all now and go to the top viewport and Shift A to add a new mesh, which is a plane. That will be our ground, and scale it up. Scale it. Probably you can move it there. Okay, scale it up again. Okay, it doesn't matter. And as a good practice, I will name it ground. Good. What else? I want to see what the camera looks. I mean the camera view. What does it look like? So I split the window. Did you take care of what I did? You can split the view by pressing on these lines here. Okay, press, hold, drag, and you can split the view, the 3D view, into a couple of 3D views. Yeah, this is 3D view as well. Okay, I want to hide this shelf by pressing T, and hitting the numpad 0 moves you to the view of the camera. Now that's how the camera look, or I mean the view of the camera. So if you hit G to grab and move, yeah, see, moving the camera moves its view. Good. Now I will move the plane to a position. I will scale it across the y-axis like that. Yeah, because I don't want it to be cut. And something very important for other 3D software users. The camera in Blender doesn't have a target object by default, and there is no, if you try the Shift A camera, there is no target camera, it's just a camera. Yeah, so how to do that? Deselect all and Shift A to add an empty. This empty object is not rendered. This empty object is not rendered, and I will use it as a target for the camera. So empty, I will call it cam target. I'll call it cam target. Good. And with my camera now, I will select my camera and go to the constraints, object constraints tab, add constraint track to. Now track to what exactly? Well, you can track to the cam target. Now the camera, let's take a look at the camera. Let me undo that. Let me take a look at the camera here. Let me show you something. We're in the perspective viewport. If I go to the camera while the camera is selected and go to the object tab and choose to display its axis, okay, see here, these are the local, the yellow axis or the orange axis are actually the local axes of this object, which is the camera. Yeah, so Y is always pointing upwards. Yeah, Z is pointing backwards, and hence, yeah, the negative direction of the Z axis is pointing towards the camera view. Yeah, is pointing towards where the camera is shooting. Yeah, so again, if we go and add this track to constraint and add it to the cam target object, yeah, we have to point towards the negative Z direction. Yeah, that's quite fine. And the up direction, it's Y. It's Y. Y is always pointing upwards. Good. Now what? If we try to move the camera, it will always move and points towards what? It will always points towards the so if I hit G to grab, it will always point towards the empty object that we have just added, or actually we named it target, right? Okay, good. Let me choose a good angle. Move it down just a little bit like that, and now it's time to control the target. Move it just like that. Now if we hit render, it's fine. Very good. Not bad at all. Now what? So now we learned how to create a target camera. Time for materials now. Now it's the easy part. I will deselect all, select my lovely, maybe I can increase the size of the handle here. So if I go to the tab view and B box select, by the way, see, it adds to the selection. If you want to paint selection, there is also C and lets you paint your selection if you want. I don't want that, so A, deselect all, B, and I will move that backwards just a little bit in order to have it a little bit longer. Yep. And I need to T to close that, and numpad 0, and yeah, not bad. Not bad, not bad. The focus is here. But anyway, and I need to control the target just a little bit like that. Okay, not bad, not bad at all. Now let's deselect all, select our object, our spoon object, go to the materials tab, and I will name the material also spoon mat. Okay. For my spoon, I want it to be I want it to be gray. And a specular color, okay, white, no problem. I want to increase the intensity of the specularity and maybe the hardness just a little bit to be reflective. Yeah. And the key to any realistic scene is materials and lighting. So I will have it a little bit reflective, make it a little bit reflective. Of course, there's nothing to reflect now because, the scene is empty. But we can adjust that, no problem. We can add something to reflect later on, or maybe a texture or something. Let me add that now. So if you want to add a texture here, it's very easy in Blender. You go to the texture tab here, you name that texture. Let's name it reflect texture, and it should be an image or movie. And I want to open that image. I don't remember where exactly, but I will pause the video now in order to search for my images, HDR images, and then come back. Hello, I found them now again. These are some HDR images. I found them over the internet. You can choose this one. Yeah, double click it now, and I want this HDR image the projection of the mapping to be a sphere, and I want it to affect, I don't want it to affect the color, but I want it to affect the reflection, the mirror of the object. Yeah, if you want to display both the texture and the material, both, yeah, take a look at that. Yeah, that's what we want. That's the sort of effect we want. But there's something wrong with the projection. Maybe generated is not that one. Maybe object. Maybe. I mean, no, not object. Global, something like that. You render that. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. And maybe you want to decrease the amount of reflectivity or the influence here, and try to render it again, and yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. It looks good though. You can also affect the intensity of the specularity, and yeah, it's not bad at all. It's not bad. For the render, I want to increase the subdivision in order to have it a smooth render. And if we go to the plane, and for the plane also I need another material. But that material, I don't want a material actually, I want it just texture. So I want it to be bright, no specularity. Okay, whatever. And for the texture, there's nothing currently displayed here, so I'm going to create a new texture, and I'm going to name it wood. Okay, after naming it wood, we go back to the type of texture and assign it an image or movie, and then both. Okay, I'm going to open the image. The image is basically something like video sources, champ. Okay, open, and that's the texture of a wooden material. Yeah, it affects the color. And okay, let me just render and see the result. That's not bad. That's not bad at all, but there's something wrong with the material and the lighting, so I'm gonna fix now. First of all, the image mapping. Repeat. I think that we need to increase the repeat amount across the y-axis. Let's try a value of 2. Things started to be a little bit more accurate. Let's render again. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. The most important thing is lighting here. Currently we have only one lamp in the scene, and that lamp, I believe it's not enough. I'm gonna turn it. Now the type of the lamp is a point lamp. I'm going to turn it into an area lamp. But currently the energy or the intensity of the light is quite large. If we render now, nothing is visible, or everything is too bright. So no, we don't want that. I'm going to decrease the energy to a reasonable value. Let me render again. Yeah, maybe, but no. I think I'm going to decrease it a little bit more, like that. Yeah, that's fine. But still, I need to move it upwards just a little bit, like that, and maybe R to rotate it, just like that. Okay, F12 to render. Yeah, things is much better now. R to rotate again. F12 to render. Yeah, looking good. Looking very, very good. Probably, maybe we can play around with the settings of the material here. But it's not very important now. Now that you know how to render this, there's only one thing remaining. As you can see, the shadows are quite hard, very, very dark shadows. They're not soft and they're not so realistic. So what I'm gonna do, go to the top viewport and Shift A, lamp. I'm going to add a lamp, a point lamp. Now take a look at where the lamp is going to be created. It's going to be created at the 3D cursor. So that's another use of the many different uses of the 3D cursor. It's used as a base location for newly created objects. Good. Now for this lamp, it's just going to light the scene. I'm not going to add any shadows for this lamp, so by default it's no shadow lamp. I just want to light the scene, increase the lighting of the scene with this lamp. But this one is the one that produces shadows. You can make the shadows a little bit softer by brightening it up, the shadow color. But no, that's not what I want to do. I will enable something else. I will go to the world tab, and well, this is not important, but I will make the horizon color darker, and I will enable ambient occlusion, and in the gather drop down menu I will set the ambient occlusion method to approximate, and the approximate I will have but 3 passes, and the fall off strength, let's just increase it just a little bit, like that. Okay, and let's try to render. It's gonna take a bit of time, but it's going to look more realistic. Yeah, this is really looking more realistic than the other one with hard shadows, as you can see. So ambient occlusions adds to the realism of the scene. Okay, so image, save as, and I'm going to save it here in my blends, and I will call it spoon 4. So that's it, and save as. Now it's saved. And I think that's all for now. This is the end of this tutorial, and looking forward to see you. Looking forward to making another tutorial for you. Take care and goodbye. This is 3D Immortal web-institute.com. .blogspot.com. Thank you.